Okay, so welcome everyone to our webinar today. Let's start. Uh, Today, our topic is shifting in the world of sales in the face of the future. From the Inner Hub side, please meet Marianne Kushnir, our engagement manager, who is experienced with sales processes and will help me today to ask smart questions. And we are very glad to have our speaker today, Ori Dror, with, who is a specialist in the business processes and funnels with more than 14 years in sales. He has MBI degree. Um, he has built a platform, salescharmforbusinesses.com, that helps to simplify and structure the huge amount of information that we are dealing nowadays constantly. And this platform helps empowering entrepreneurs, marketers, graphic designers, and web developers to implement their ideas into business development and growth. And what Ori has stated in our forum, that his main mission statement is to help you to convert the information into useful practical knowledge that could help you to establish and develop better businesses. Sounds great, doesn't it? So Ori, can you tell us a little bit more? So how you come up and gonna achieve this brilliant mission?
Okay, so first, as you said, my name is Ori. I have 14 years experience in sales and including team management. And I was evolved also to marketing and business development. And what I wanted to do here is to help you understand the changes in the sales world. So whenever you try to sell your product, you would know exactly in which critical points you should touch in order to make more customers close from you or buy from you the product. Okay?
Yeah, sounds great. So I guess you can
Do you
present.
want me to start?
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah.
Feel free to start.
Just a moment, I can share my screen.
And yeah, Ori, can you lower your camera a little bit so we can see your face?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. So can you, I cannot share, right now I can share the screen. Great. Of course, nice. Just a moment. Okay, great. So everyone can see the presentation, right?
Yeah, we can see.
We can see, okay, great. So we're going to separate this presentation to two parts. The first part is going to be on what is sales, sales before, sales in the future, how you're going to face those obstacles, why it has changed. And I'm going to give you some time to ask me some questions about the first part. Then in the second part, I'm going to speak about tools on sales and marketing. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to let you ask me some more questions about the entire presentation. So let's begin. First, we're going to speak about shifting in the world of sales and in the face of the future, meaning that sales had changed a lot in the last 5-10 years, as you probably can see as entrepreneurs, freelancers, small business owners, or business owners. So you need to know how to deal with these changes. So let's begin. This is about Sales Charm. I already explained about it, but I would explain something a little bit more. Okay, I invented Sales Charm for Business. I have constructed this website because I wanted to give you practical and precise information, because today there are a lot of information in this in sales and marketing and business development. And so I wanted to give you exactly what you need in order to convert this information to knowledge. So let's jump into the subject. So first, before I start to explain about what we're going to speak about, I want to speak about sales first. What is sales? So many of us that are not dealing with sales think that sales meaning push something to someone, because we actually think about those salesperson who push us something we don't need. But it isn't the right kind of thinking, the right perception, because customers need to feel that you give them exactly what they need. So they need to feel that you help them. If you are a consultant, you would sell more. And you need to remember this, memorize that. You need to give them as much as value as possible during the conversation, help them solve their problems or accomplish their goals or targets or dreams, whatever you like. So we're going to speak about the fluctuations in the sales world, sales before, sales today, and dealing with the changes in the sales world. So if we look at sales in the past, there was a lot of changes. Customers was uncertain about the decision they made. They didn't have enough information about about the product. So they wanted to see if the product actually answers their needs, gives them enough value for the money they pay. Second, they wanted to see if there are better products in the market. And third, they wanted to consult with another person in order to get the best decision for them, because they will lack information. Now it is entirely different. Customers don't trust us because they have too much information. They don't know what kind of information is best for deciding. So what is actually happening right now is this: you need them to feel like they get the best decision for what the best decision for buying the product. So you need to empathize trust when you try to sell them. It's that important. So there are several reasons why sales has changed from like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and of course 20 years ago. So the main issue here is that there was an information revolution. And now customers can get information even from their iPhone or their cellular phone. It doesn't matter. Everywhere, anywhere, they can get information. So the change has occurred from the rise of Google in 2000, if you remember that. And then on 2007, the iPhone was invented. 2008, the Facebook has arisen. And 2013, AliExpress has arisen. So each of those social networks, e-commerce, of course, Google has changed the behavior of the customers. You need to remember that when you try to sell to your customers. So the problem here is that customers don't know what is important when they decide and what is not important. They don't know how to separate false information and the true information, the exact information they need to get a decision. So they need to search for different sources that aim to the same place when they decide. So you need to remember that, because there are different resources which have to show the same trend, that they can understand that they get the best decision and trust you. And the most critical issue, most of us don't know how to transfer numbers or data to convert it to knowledge. And you should remember that, because people get decisions by emotions, not rational. So you should remember this when you actually go to your customers and try to sell them. Remember one main issue here. Customers, this is not the market of your customers, because they get decision by emotions. So most of the decisions is actually rely on their feeling, their unconsciousness, their needs, their wants. If you know how to touch those things, you can rule the market. And the best example for that is Facebook and Google. They just have psychological analytics, and they know exactly how we think. If you know how the customer think, you can sell them more, and that you are going to do by raising their trust. So if we look and want to think about it, that by the way, it's not an objection, or you can look at that in other angle, it's a false objection, because customers doesn't tell you anything about why it doesn't want to close the deal. So if you spread around the fog, then you would understand that in the past, the customers will actually tell you that maybe there is another product which is better for me. Maybe the value for the price, it's not worthwhile. And maybe there is another person who he wants to consult with, which is fine, he or she. But today, when you try to solve the same false objection, the customer is telling you, I don't trust you, or maybe I don't trust your company, or I don't trust myself that I'm going to use the product. So when you touch those three critical points, then you actually can solve his issue, his problems, and make him buy the product. So this is actually summarize everything about the first part. You should remember that customers before didn't have enough information to decide. That's why they were hesitating. But today it's entirely different. It's in the opposite direction. They have all the information they need. They just not know what information to choose in order to get the right decision for them. So if you have any questions, now it's the time.
Yes, so audience, please, if you have any questions, you are feel free to ask. Okay, I hear myself.
You hear yourself, okay.
Ori, can you mute for a second?
Yeah.
So I have a question. The trust is sort of glue that makes everything works, all our ecosystem. And the question is about how it should work for different kind of businesses. Is it like about B2B sales or B2C, or can it work for everything together?
To everyone.
To everyone, yes.
It's the simplest answer, because when you look at business, you do business with people, not with businesses. So every customer has his own point of view of suspicion about your product, about yourself, about him or her, because we have experience before other products and we didn't always receive what we want or what we expected to receive, or we have used. The great example for using a product is the gym. How many people pay for the gym and after 1 month, they just don't go to the gym? So every kind of this thinking, of every kind of this thought is actually rely on the past or on our experience, and we should remember that. Of course, there are other decisions like buying an apartment or buying a car, which we don't do daily. Then the risk is much higher. So the trust is still very important, but here there is another factor, which is the value and the risk that the customer is going to take. So in this situation, probably the sales process would be a little bit different. You should still raise the trust of the customers, but here you should pay attention also for the value of the product. Okay?
Okay, and what could be the first steps in building like the solid sales system that helps to build this trust? Can you give
Okay, I'm
some
going
guide?
actually I'm going to speak about this in the second part.
Mhm.
Just shortly, I would answer about it. The first thing you got to do is to expose yourself. You got to be out there. The customers need to see your name. So the simplest thing you can do at the beginning, just connect with other people. Ask them to connect with you on LinkedIn or follow you on Twitter or become your friend on Facebook. It doesn't matter. But this is the most basic thing that you got to do. You got to execute in order to lower down the barriers. Okay?
Okay, yep, good. So I don't see any questions in the chat. We shall proceed, I guess, with the second part. And then
Great.
we'll have
Okay.
like a huge bunch of questions for about the whole
Yeah,
presentation.
I think probably there would be more questions about the
Ori,
presentation.
I would like to ask you some question,
Of
some
course.
additional question. So obviously, trust is the cornerstone of the sales initially. And on your opinion, what is the most efficient tools for salespeople on different steps of the sales cycle to build the trust? For example, on the engagement step. From your perspective, from your experience, maybe some tools, tips, something that you've gained from the use of experience in that field. Thank you.
The best thing you can do is become as much professional as you can be. Because the main issue, and it doesn't matter the type of customers communication, it can be people-oriented, practical people, and so on. In this matter, you need to remember that the most important part is that you control every aspect of the product when you speak about it. And then when the customers see you as consultant, remember that you need to be a consultant and expert. Then the chances he would buy from you is much higher. People don't like to buy from sellers. They like to buy for something they feel he knows what he's speaking about. Okay?
Okay, and one more question. How do you see a building of the trust in the corporate sales when there's a lot of decision makers and of course the middleman and a lot of people actually who is engaged in the buying process?
Okay, so this is a really great question. We all suffer from this issue as the sellers. If you have to speak with corporations and there are like 7 or 8 people all along the way that can have an impact on the decision, so it becomes more challenging. The best thing I can tell you about that is try to get to the head, those who actually make the decision. So the decision maker, because in each company there is one man or woman who actually you should reach him, like CEOs or some sort of a big manager over there, that you need to reach him. If you reach him, he would make the process much easier and much swifter. So I think in this matter, if you sell to corporations, you should try to find the right connections on LinkedIn. Actually, there are researchers that shows that it can accelerate the process even by month, 6 months, even a year. So if you want to get to the decision maker, you need to show your presence on LinkedIn. Okay, it is that important. Okay, answer your question?
Yeah, sure. So as I understand, the persistence and consistency in this process is the key to success.
Yeah, it's the key. If you can do this, so you can try to get closer to people along the chain. And then when you speak with them and you want to raise their trust, okay, so you need to be as much as professional as you can and understand their motives. When you understand their motives and why they want to use your product, then it would be much easier to pass from one people to another. But the easiest and the quickest way to get to the main decision maker is by LinkedIn, by far. Okay?
Sure. And the question that was rising in my head, that is, for example, if we're talking about the complex technical sales, for example, in the artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, as InHub is dealing with. So how to, in your opinion and from your experience, for example, explain to non-technical person, which is making key decisions in the company, what value does our products give to their businesses in the most simple way that will build the trust simply and in the fastest way possible?
Okay, so here again, the professional side is really critical. Why is that? Because you can use terms that no one can understand. You can understand that maybe technical people can understand, but they can't understand. So you need to get inside their head and examine what terms they understand of what you are saying. So you need to use as simply as you can the terms and see the reaction of the people you're speaking with. If you see that they don't understand or ask you some questions that shows that they didn't understand what you were saying, so this is the best way to understand where you should lower down the terms. So use simpler words. Another thing that you can do is visualize, but use very, very simple processes to show them exactly what you can do for them. So it has to be less words, more examinations, and the simplest words you can use, but also examine that, test this on your customers, test on your co-workers, maybe friends at work that don't have the technical knowledge, and then understand from them what is the best terms you can use to reach your customers. But no, it's professionality. Okay, it's understanding what the customers can understand can apprehend from you. Okay, continue.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, one short question. If we're talking about, for example, government organizations, how to build trust with them? Can you give a little bit insight about this?
Okay, sorry, I didn't understand. Again?
So if we're talking, for example, about government organizations, usually the process goes much slower than in commercial sector. So maybe you have any insights how to build sales for government?
Government. Okay, I see. Again, you need to reach the main decision maker over there. So if they are not on LinkedIn, so the process can be a little bit, I know it might take some time, but here marketing is more important. You should know how to write the right emails in order to reach faster the people who can decide and can move you forward. So it's really, really important to get inside the heads of the people you speak with, what they're afraid of, what are the objections, and put it inside the email. And talk about the objections and talk about how you're going to solve their issues. It's the same thing. It's professional, because as a professional, you need to understand what can hold you down from deciding. It can be objections, it can be questions you have, something that is not clear. This is the professionality.
Okay, I see. Good.
Okay, let's continue.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have sales and marketing combined together. You need to remember that if you want to sell faster and to raise the trust of your customers, you need to know how to market yourself and how to combine market with sales. So remember, market is to reach large scale of people at once, but sales is creating personal relationships, so they must work together. So the first thing you got to do is to market yourself. Many people, many business owners, entrepreneurs, freelancers don't do that. They skip about this important phase and they try to promote themselves. If I don't know you, I don't want to buy from you. The only thing that you can do is promote yourself with millions of dollars in the bank that I think most of us don't have this kind of money. So the thing that you can do is to market yourself. And when you market yourself, I mean that you need to expose yourself and to engage with other customers. So when you want to, when you expose yourself, the simplest things that you can do is to publish posts, articles, videos, worksheets, checklists, and more. So the customers is going to be exposed to you. It's going to read about you. It's going to expose to your name. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it has to be done. I didn't say this. The co-founder of Facebook has said it. And this is exactly what you need to remember. You need to start being out there and to publish at least 3 posts or articles or videos, it doesn't matter, a week. Then the customers would expose you. It would be much easier to get a decision and to leave his contact details. Second, build a website. So when you want to build a website, it's very important because this is the identity card of your business. A website or a mini website, a landing page. It's that important. And I can tell you that there are still business owners who don't have a website. So the customers is actually searching for you on the internet, on Google. And if you don't have a website, how they're going to find you? If they're on LinkedIn or Facebook, they want to visit your website to see who are you. Third, ask for customers' recommendations. So even of course, even to sellers, if you don't have recommendation, it is much harder to sell. So when you work with corporations or even with governments, remember that there are people out there and they want to see that they're not the only one, the first one who are using your product. They want to see that your product has a positive effect of the customers. The fourth thing you can do is, and another angle that I can answer your questions before about the corporations and about the government is grant free services or low-cost services. Customers need to try your product. When they try your product, then it is much easier to get a decision. You can also tell them, okay, I would give you 30 days money back guarantee or free consultation. When you are an expert, you would sell for more, period. And of course, there are sales. We cannot, most of the times, most businesses will rely on marketing and sales. And sales can be also promotions in some level. So when you want to sell, you need to get inside the customer's head and understand what kind of fears the customers have. And the main fear the customers would have is, of course, trust. Customers are afraid to get a decision because they don't trust us. So when you start selling, and there is a process that every seller, I think, should know, is introducing yourself, and then you ask him between 3 and 5 questions, presenting the product to meet his needs, and then call for closing. But it's not that easy, because there are in between the objections and the customer's fears and the questions he or she would raise. And here the trust is actually getting inside. So the first factor you should be considered, the first compound, is being professional. We have already spoken about it. This is the most important issue when selling. Control each aspect of the product, each feature, each benefit, objection, and of course, each question. If you hesitate when answering the customer's questions, the deal is off. Second, encourage the customer to speak. The customer has to speak at least 50% of the time when you sell to him. How do you do this? Asking questions. It's simply as that. You're asking questions in the phase of asking power questions. Great. Also repeat in your own words after what he is telling you. Do an active listening. Then the customer would feel like that you are a professional, and you would encourage him to speak more. Second, when you present the product, ask 2-3 questions. The best question you can ask is to raise by yourself the objection that you know that the customer most likely would raise at the end of the conversation. So remember that you can raise by yourself the objection, and you can by yourself solve the objection, that at the end you would work much easier. Fear factor is creating consents. You need to hear the customers saying to you at least 2 or 3 times the word yes. It is that important, because when the customer feel like there is a positive atmosphere, the chances he would close with you is much higher. Hear the word yes, hear the word correct, hear anything that can be positive to the sales conversation. And fourth, getting closer to the customers. Now, here, be aware. It's not fit, it's not appropriate to every customer whom you speak with. There are customers who are more practical. They don't like those things. So there you should be a more professional and speak about processes and results. But when you speak with more people-oriented, then they would expect from you to speak a little bit about them, to ask them maybe even personal questions. They want to feel that they can go with you to a coffee shop and drink with you. Okay? And this is actually the last part, the last screen. So what I wanted to tell you about that, I want to summarize a little bit. So we have been speaking about what is sales. How did it change during the years? Why did it change? And of course, tools on marketing in sales, how to overcome the obstacles. So I also attached 3 links in the Zoom chat. So if you want to get the presentation, there is a link there. So it would be really great for you to move over again on the presentation and see if there is something that you have missed. And second, I also have worked very hard to edit and build the sales process within the conversation, from introducing yourself to upgrading the deal, and of course the phases in between. So if you want to improve your sales process within, just click on the link and register, and you would have this thing. And of course, if you want, you can also follow me on LinkedIn. I have added my link to my profile. Sergey?
Yeah, thank you for this interesting speech. And we have also a lot of questions, a set of questions regarding the lockdown and COVID situation. So do you have any advice regarding like marketing strategy for this period or for the next year? How to build it in the terms that we have the situation with the pandemic, etc. So what does it change? What should be taken into account? Maybe we should do something different these times, because for now a lot of companies do sales via Zoom. So there is no like face-to-face meetings, and it gives you a little bit less trust. And so what would you recommend in this situation? How to change, how to pivot sales strategy, etc.?
This is a great question. Okay, so here the trust issue is much stronger first, because now the uncertainty is much bigger because of this pandemic. So you need to remember that you need to work even harder on the personal relationship with the person. Understand that because of this disease, customers probably would be harder to decide and would be even more distrustful. So to market yourself, you just need to work harder. You just need to think about what other concerns right now is specific to this epidemic. Because people right now have unsecure ground. And when they decide something, they think much more about the money because the risk is much higher. So you need to remember that when you want to sell to them, that you have to speak about the changes in the world right now. Don't ignore it. It is that important. And so as probably some of the objections would be considering to this epidemic. So you need to speak about those situations, this epidemic, and how it can change the way the business is working right now and how to sell the products. You need to speak with them about that, raise this objection, get inside their head, see exactly what is bothering him. Of course, if you don't know exactly what is bothering him, just try to sell. And then after 3-4 times you speak with customers and you see the exact objections that are arising right now, then you can understand how to deal with that, because every industry has its own objections. And the best thing you can do is just test your customers. Test them, ask them questions, see what kind of objections right now are more popular, and prepare yourself. And just check every time if it is working for you. Okay? The other thing you should do is market yourself much harder. So if you have uploaded 2 or 3 posts a week, now you should double the amount, because people tend to be less trustful. And also they stay at home, so they don't have anything to do. So they probably would be exposed more to your posts and to your articles. So this is the time to start exposing yourself more and to engage more. And also people that told you that they have refused before, maybe now it's a good time to return to them because the situation has changed. Another question?
Okay, I see. And do you think it's like good times to pivot and make different tries with different kinds of marketing strategies at this moment, or how to like maintain or even enhance the level of sales at the moment? So what is better, to try new things or just stick to the strategies that works at the moment? What do you think? Because for now you say that you have to know what your customer is thinking, etc. But with COVID times, you don't see these verbal readings and you really have to work much, much harder. But from the strategic point of view, have you to like pivot in more or just to stick the first strategy that works?
Okay, I see. So yeah, in this situation of the COVID-19, you can exploit the situation from every place of every situation that we are down. There is an opportunity for any crisis. There is an opportunity, and we should search for it. Remember that Google and AliExpress has arisen during a crisis. So you need to see what exactly you can give in this environment that has changed, because things have changed. Now you can exploit it. So do SWOT or anything else that can show you exactly what are the changes that has occurred and what can you do in order to exploit those opportunity that's just open because of the COVID-19.
Okay, good. And if we're talking about like that everything went online and you have information explosion, as you said, so maybe you might say a little bit about additional tools, because really, if you take like a decade ago, the people were hesitating because they had little information about some decisions, and now they are overwhelmed with the different options, and they do not know what works best, what does not work at all. And for now, almost all businesses went online, or at least what we see. And what kind of tools that can help like to convert all this data, unstructured data, into some useful knowledge? Maybe you give some examples, maybe some AI, etc. existing there.
Okay.
Maybe some interesting technologies you have heard of.
I don't think this technology is the main issue here, because customers don't decide because of a better technology. It can help, of course. I don't say it doesn't. But customers decide because they rely on you. Businesses, we do people to people, not businesses to businesses. There are, of course, some great technology out there that maybe can help people decide, and you can like send automatic posts, automatic messages, and maybe even help them decide by other great technology, which I really don't know right now. But the main issue that is here is to be an expert. Customers need to try your product. And to do so, you need to give them try. They need to meet with you, even on the Zoom, it doesn't matter. You need to show them a really good presentation that shows in the simplest words and the best images what you're going to do for them. Then when you actually build a great relationship with them, they probably would close with you the deal. So this is the main issue, not the technology. Technology can help you, but the main issue is to be an expert as much as possible, to consult them and to raise their trust. When you do that, they probably would close, even though there might be even better products. But remember that customers have all the information. They think they have all the information. So in many cases, they tend to check less the market right now.
I see. Okay. Very interesting. And another question, for example, if we looked at the companies in UAE and in MENA region in general, so there are a lot of companies, as you said, that do not have website at the moment. And in COVID, like to be present online is very important. What do you think about such platforms, for example, like Made in China, that is sort of aggregator of all these different small businesses that might come into the platform and advertise themselves? Is it useful if like tool for doing this, or can you comment a little bit on this? So this sort of presenting themselves, will it help them to build trust on such kind of platforms?
I think there is no substitute to build a website or mini website. Because in those places, okay, you can have in ST and you can have a store on Alibaba or AliExpress, it doesn't matter. You can have those things, but customers, but you cannot differentiate yourself over there. So maybe customers would buy from you and you would have some customers, but you cannot develop over there yourself. It is very, very difficult. So you need also to have a website or even a mini website that the customers can read a little bit about. You can see who are you. You know that one of the main places on my website that customers tend to visit is about me. Why? Because they want to know who am I. They don't know me. So they want to see why do I want to give them this information? Can they trust me? So it is great that you have stores in every place and you show yourself and expose yourself. It doesn't contradict, but you still need a website that customers that want to find you on Google, you lose them. And a lot of people are searching for you on Google. So you need to expose yourself in any places that your target audience can be. And of course, many of them, or most of them, would be on Google.
So I mean, will this such kind of platforms help to build trust for these companies or not?
Yes, of course. Of course. Every place they see you, they see your name, the chances that they would buy from you is much higher, of course. You need to, they need to see your name sometimes 5, 6, or even 7 times before buying. So they have
Oh,
some
this like
sort of a
this
process.
theory of 7 touches, yeah.
Yeah. The route that they go and they visit your website can be sometimes they visit your website once and then they go to search on you on Facebook and then on LinkedIn and then maybe in AliExpress and then search for recommendations and they go back to your website and then go after a week another time to your website and then they buy. This is a process and it takes time. So you need to be everywhere that your customers can be, but also analyze that. See that in each place the customers visit you gives you the results you need. Track them. Track your customers to see where you get the best results. And in those platforms, invest much of your efforts, time, money, and everything else. Okay?
I see. Okay.
Audrey, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Like summarizing everything that you've been saying to this point, from my perspective, as I understand, the main things, the main stones that you were talking about is the empathy, and building awareness around your client. So my question is, what is the main techniques of yourself which you are using to build this empathy soft skill in order to comprehend the problems of the client or the decision maker? And also how to make this awareness around your client is more precise, to the
Okay.
point that it's less touches needed to give him a lot of information about the company or the product itself.
Okay, great. The best thing you can do there are two organs which are the most crucial in your sales. Two organs in your body. One is your eyes, and second is your ears.
Yeah.
Those you just need an active listening. Also, when you meet face to face, also your eyes to see their body language. This is what would help you close more deals. This is what make the relationship with your customers. Not that you have a script, we all have scripts, we all know exactly what we have to say, but you need to fit the script to your customers, to understand exactly what they want, to hear what they say and to hear what they don't say during the conversation. And that's why it's so important to mirror what the customer is telling you. Then he can feel like that you exactly understand what he's saying. You know what is mirroring, right?
Sure.
Okay, so you actually repeat after the customer sentence in your own sentences, and you ask them to to tell you that you are correct with what you are saying to them, and then you actually cause them to say yes several times, which is much easier, and you cause a positive atmosphere in the conversation. So this is the most crucial thing. You need to listen to them to understand exactly what they are telling you, and then you can build the relationship with them. Okay, and of course, another issue which is really important when you sell, and many salespersons actually fall in this part, is emphasize the benefits that customers wants to hear from you. Not what you think they want, but what you hear them telling you. So you actually explain everything about the product, every feature, because each feature you're not explaining, the customers would not understand the product and probably the deal would be off. But each feature you explain about the product, attach the right feature for each customer. The right benefits, sorry. So the benefits, it's why the customers would buy from you.
Sure.
What is it for him or her to buy from you? So this is the main issue. So there is no one process that is actually right for everyone. You need to find the right process for you, and you need to match it to the type of customer you are speaking with. Okay?
Yeah, and I have thank you for the answer. And I have one more question. It's not that related, but probably somehow yes. For example, what is the best practice to examine your sales cycle and to understand where is the biggest problems and what is actually not leading you to the sales?
Okay, so in one word, numbers. This is the only thing they count. We can feel, we have hunch, we have everything. It doesn't count. Only numbers count. If you see that you are speaking with X people and you close X less people, and this is a really, really low number, so something in the process is not working. You need to understand where the customer is losing you, because if in the beginning the customer is telling you, I don't want to buy, and buy, so something in the introducing yourself is not working, or something about the market that the customer is not exposed to you. But if you look at the end that the customer is telling you every time, I want to think about it, or the price is too high, something about the need is not working. You didn't raise the needs enough. And then after you raise the needs enough, then Then, of course, there is the trust issues that you need to speak with the customer to raise them by being professional, create consents, maybe get closer to the customer, create dialogue. Every part of the decision making in customer's mind can be affected by those issues. So you need to see when you ask your customers questions that actually speaks about the problems. That the customer is telling you, yes, I know I have a problem. It doesn't do anything. He has to speak about what is bothering him or what he wants to accomplish. When you speak about that, then you can speak about your product and you can present the product, of course, related to what he has told you before. And it would be much easier than to deal with the objections afterwards. Okay? So the main critical point here is to listen and analyze the numbers and see exactly what is the rate of customers whom you speak with, how many close. Maybe in your industry it's 1 to 100. It's fine, maybe. And maybe it's supposed to be 1 to 5. And if it's 1 to 5, okay, so, and you are in this on this statistics, so you are in the right direction, so everything is fine. But if there is another salesperson who sell one sale for each 5 conversation and you do it 1 to 10, so there is probably a problem in your sales process, and then you should analyze it according to what I've said before.
Okay, so as I understand, this is kind of a balance between the analytics of the key performance indexes of your system and kind of A/B testing of the audience or the clients you're talking about. So, and building kind of a synergy between those.
Yeah, there is symmetry between those, and you need to see the reactions of your customers to see if you get the results you want, and of course to analyze the numbers each time, and then you can see if you are on the right track to reach your goals.
And I have a question. So maybe there is some like insight how to train the marketing team and salesperson, or maybe there is like some sort of profile of the people that should be hired to get these KPIs as high as possible. What can you recommend?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
So is there any way that the sales team and marketing team can be taught? So any sort of courses for this like psychology, etc. stuff. So where can these materials can be taken? What can you recommend how to train these teams?
There is someone who is called Dan Luke, which is great. Who has a lot of great information about how to improve the sales methods and a little bit marketing, but most likely sales. And of course, there is a process in sales. I really recommend that you download the sales process I already sent to you on the chat. Just download it and share it with the coworkers. And there is everything you should know about how to introduce yourself, what obstacles you should overcome, what questions you should ask, how to present yourself, and of course, how to call for closure. The entire sales process within. So probably this is the best solution you can do. Second, when you market yourself, so probably the best thing you can do is just search for influencers in marketing that have probably over 1,000 views or something like that, and use what they are saying, because here the crowd effect. So above 100,000 people who view this video, so probably they know what I'm talking about. So that's what I would do instead of you. And when you speak about marketing, so there are processes in which you should remember. So You can also visit my website and see exactly the process. It would always back to those stages, from exposing yourself to engaging the customers, to understand who are the right niche for you, and of course to find the right platforms, and then find the right content, the right message for your customers, and then start selling them, receiving their content through newsletters, trials, or even call them to close the deal. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
And if you're talking about the companies who want to enlarge their sales team, is there any recommendations there about the profile of the salesperson or marketing person that they should be searching for? So, like you mentioned, a lot of like behavior analysis, all this psychological things that they should see at, and maybe there are some insights what also should be included into interviewing process for these candidates.
My insight here is how the seller is motivated, how obligated to the company. Do he want to learn, or she want to learn about how to become the best seller he can be? I can tell you by myself, I was Medicure before I started to work on Jerusalem Post, which is a really, really large company in Israel. And I actually all the time was really, really stubborn. And I went each time I received an objection I couldn't handle to my boss and ask him, what should I do? This is the best thing you can accept for your seller, to see how motivate them and how much they want to become the best they can be, to sell the best they can be. So motivation and obligation and the motivation to learn is the most critical issues there. I've seen some people that I thought they are better as customer service and they were my best sellers. And I see someone who has a really slippery mouth and he can speak a lot and it was amazing, but when he needed to sell, it was really, really awful. So it doesn't matter, you just need to see the people, see that he can sell the product, see that he wants to improve himself, and he work hard for that, because sales is all about, we are not born as sellers, we born as babies. So you actually need to understand, you actually need to learn the methods, and there is the right way to do so. So you need to search for people who are hungry for success. This is the best sellers you can wish to have. They want to earn money, they want to sell, and they want to help customers.
Okay, sounds interesting. Sounds great. And the last question, I guess, would be the last. What are the main KPIs you would name that can track this sales team performance? So is it the number of closed deals, or is it like total amount of money that was brought to the company? What should be looked at?
First of all, we speak about money, right? Money
Yes.
is the most important here, okay? So of course, you want to earn some amount of money. Now crop it. How many sales do you need to earn this kind of money, this amount of money? Then what is the percentage that you have already to close those deals? How many calls or how many presentation or how many face-to-face meeting you got to have in order to reach this amount of closing? How many times you need to call to customers? Remember that 50% of the customers don't answer the phone, at least. So you need to remember that you need to call and you need to check the number and see how many calls or how many meetings you should have in order to close X sales. And when you do that in between the stages, analyze what is causing you not to reach the goals you have set before. Of course, you need also to remember that you want always to improve yourself, because if you are flat in sales and you're not developing your team, so probably the chances that your team would collapse in some point is much higher. So you shouldn't each time put the same goal. You reach the goal, great. Now put a higher goal. Of course, that can be accessible, but it should challenge the sellers.
Okay, Ori, I would like to ask you one more question. It's about how the companies, for example, whether it's a B2C or B2B company, usually in the situation of the COVID-19, they try to go out and conquer new markets. And new markets is the new customers and new challenges. And how or what is the best and quickest way to adapt to the new market? Maybe you need to have some tools to analyze some information, to bring some market fit tools to the table or something like that. What would you say on that matter?
Okay, so there is no easy way in those things. It's really challenging. I'm actually also facing this issue. The best thing you can do, as you said before, is A/B testing. There is no easy way. Shortcuts is the hardest ways and the largest ways and the longest ways. Okay, so you have to see which customers reacted the best and where you get the best closing percentage and where you get the best customers. Maybe you want customers that close faster, or maybe you want customers who pay more. Where you get the best customers there is or there are. So this is the best solution for what you have asked, because you need to do A/B testing. You need to check between 3, 4, 5 different niches and then see where you get the best reactions. To do so, to save some time, I would, instead of you, I would have sent on LinkedIn or other social platform or other platforms, it doesn't matter, an email or try to connect with them and see where you get the best result, the best reactions. And then you know that probably this niche is ready for you to penetrate. Okay? So, okay?
Yeah.
Sort of getting speed, yeah, and conquering as fast as possible new niches.
So I hope I answered all of your questions.
Yeah,
and it was
thank you very much.
For you, of course.
Thank you very much for this beautiful webinar, for all this insight.
And I repeat again that if you want to improve your sales process, don't hesitate. Just click on the link I have attached in the Zoom chat. And there was about sales process. Also, there is about this presentation. From my point of view, sometimes you get a lot of information, and some you actually understand and you actually receive this, and this is great. But some probably you don't. So this presentation, you can actually download it and move over again and see what you have missed during the presentation. So it is another tool that you can repeat over and over what you have learned here to improve it. And of course, if you want other tips, there is my LinkedIn profile you can follow. I'm uploading around 5 or 6 times a week, an article, a post, a video, so you can follow and you can learn from that.
Okay, Ori, thank you very much for all the insights, for your experience. And
thank you very much.
Want to wish everyone a good day and good continuation of this day.
Keep safe, of course.
Yeah,
And be healthy.
keep safe, and thank you for visiting this webinar. So see you, everyone. Have a nice
See you, everyone.
day.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.